Bethesda, Maryland, a wealthy suburb known for its upscale shopping and sense of safety, was shocked to its core by a heinous crime on the night of March 11th, 2011. Lululemon Athletica, a high-end yoga and athletic apparel store, became the site of one of the most brutal murders in the region's history. The crime involved two employees, Jana Murray and Brittany Norwood, who were closing the store when an argument erupted, one that would end in a shocking act of violence. By the following morning, police were called to the scene. Jana Murray's lifeless body was found in the back of the store, brutally mutilated. She had over 300 injuries inflicted by at least 5 different weapons, including a wrench, a rope, and a metal peg used for hanging merchandise. The sheer savagery of the attack spoke to the assailants' unrelenting rage. Brittany Norwood, on the other hand, was discovered bound with zip ties, her clothes torn, and her face bloodied. She claimed that 2 masked men had entered the store, sexually assaulted both women, and killed Murray. Norwood's story initially gained widespread sympathy, as she was portrayed as a victim who had narrowly survived a horrific attack. As detectives delved deeper into the case, cracks began to appear in Norwood's narrative. Forensic evidence failed to corroborate her claims of a forced entry. There were no signs of anyone else entering the store, nor was there DNA evidence to suggest the presence of intruders. Instead, investigators found Murray's blood on Norwood's shoes and clothing, as well as evidence that Norwood had moved items around to stage the crime scene. Norwood's injuries, which initially seemed consistent with her story, were discovered to be superficial and self-inflicted. Surveillance footage from a nearby Apple store further raised suspicions. It captured the sounds of the brutal attack coming from the Lululemon store, including Murray's screams and desperate pleas for help. Witnesses from adjacent businesses later reported hearing loud noises, but had not called the police, assuming it was merely a dispute. The motive for such a violent crime shocked even seasoned investigators. Norwood, it turned out, had a history of stealing from her employers. On the night of the murder, Murray had confronted Norwood after discovering stolen merchandise in her bag. Murray, a dedicated and well-respected employee, intended to report Norwood to management. Fearful of losing her job and tarnishing her reputation, Norwood snapped. In a fit of uncontrollable rage, she attacked Murray with whatever tools she could find in the store. Murray fought back valiantly, leaving defensive wounds on her hands and arms, but she was ultimately overpowered. The prolonged and excessive nature of the attack suggested not just desperation, but also deep-seated anger. After killing Murray, Norwood meticulously staged the crime scene to look like a robbery gone wrong. She bound her own hands and feet with zip ties, tore her clothing, and inflicted minor wounds on herself to lend credibility to her story. She even claimed to have been sexually assaulted, a falsehood that added another layer of complexity and horror to the case. The trial of Brittany Norwood in 2012 was a media sensation. The prosecution painted her as a manipulative and cold-blooded killer who had gone to extreme lengths to cover up her crime. Graphic evidence, including photos of the crime scene and the autopsy report, highlighted the unimaginable brutality of the attack. Norwood's defense team argued that the murder was not premeditated, suggesting it was a crime of passion fueled by a sudden emotional outburst. However, the jury found her guilty of first-degree murder, rejecting any notion of diminished responsibility. Norwood was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. The murder sent shockwaves through Bethesda, a community unaccustomed to such violence. The case sparked widespread discussions about bystander intervention, as many questioned why no one acted upon hearing Murray's screams. It also highlighted the devastating consequences of unchecked anger and the fragility of human relationships in high-pressure environments. Lululemon Athletica faced its own reckoning, grappling with the tragic loss of one employee and the criminal actions of another. The store eventually reopened, but carried the weight of its dark history, becoming a symbol of both resilience and tragedy. The murder of Jana Murray by Brittany Norwood is a haunting reminder of how small actions, like a confrontation over stolen goods, can escalate into life-altering violence. The sheer brutality of the crime, combined with the betrayal between co-workers, shocked the nation and left an indelible scar. Murray's family has worked tirelessly to preserve her memory, advocating for greater awareness of workplace violence and honoring her legacy as a vibrant, compassionate woman whose life was senselessly taken. Meanwhile, Norwood's actions serve as a cautionary tale about the destructive potential of rage and desperation, leaving behind a story of betrayal that will not soon be forgotten.